I'll just jump into the fireside chat. Thank you so much, Mr. Mehta, for taking time out from your schedule.
Thank you for inviting me, and good evening, everyone. I know it's too late, but we'll keep it very interesting. Trust me.
Absolutely. Well, the topic today is building business resilience in the age of cyber uncertainty. All of us know today that going global is a dream of perpetually every MSME and mid corporate. And for that purpose, if you have to expand your horizon, along with that comes huge risks. And we're going to dwell literally on this particular topic on how to make sure that you create a sustainable business and at the same time ensure that you become a lucrative business to look forward to. So my first question to you, Mr. Mehta, is that considering your experience working closely with MSMEs and as well knowing that in today's volatile digital landscape, there are many risks on the horizon. What do you see as the biggest transformation imperative for MSMEs to become tomorrow's enterprise?
I think Madam Mercy actually answered many of these questions by all the schemes that she announced, which the government is extending or has been extended for a long time. Many a times, if you see, people get scared with this word called MSME. I don't see why they should be just MSME only. I think there's a great scope for companies to be actually called startups. The startup word has become more powerful than an MSME, where startups do a small turnover, they are recognized more, and MSMEs are not yet recognized as big as what startups should be. So I think there's a technology or some kind of a word that we need to invent, a better invent for MSMEs also, because I think they've done what startups are doing now, and I think you are far ahead than many of the startup culture, and you have already gone through that. And the best part is that the mindset hasn't changed, whether it was then or whether it is now. It's the same mindset that you want to do something unique, you want to address a problem, you want to solve a problem. And the entrepreneurship skill or the skill set that you bring on the table with your team has to start by everybody. When the team starts, like a startup culture today, everybody starts talking about startup culture. Okay, 5 people join the team and everybody is doing the same thing. Everybody is picking up the kettle and serving tea also and that also. So I think in MSMEs also, you all have done this in the past. I don't see any reason why you can't be a unicorn. Why only startups are doing or being called unicorns? I think there's a great scope. All of you can actually achieve those. Start thinking big. Start thinking digital. Start thinking technology, start thinking compliances, start thinking cybersecurity. Start thinking some of these as your DNA, everyday DNA. It is not something new that you're doing. It is something that you need to imbibe. Regulatory issues sometimes have been a little bit slower than anticipated, more targeted towards the large enterprises. So the large enterprises, if you see, are following regulations very diligently. Take banking industry, for example. If RBI or SEBI or anybody tells them this is to be done, mandated, by default they'll do it. Whereas the culture in MSMEs has not yet picked up because it has not been thwarted on them or pushed very hardly on them. And I was talking to somebody, I said, time has come where you will soon see the regulatory bodies. I'm sure Madam Mercy is listening to this, that there should be some new easy regulatory reforms that should be instilled into MSMEs also as a culture. If that is installed from now or instigated now, I think the culture to become bigger becomes much easier. I think the landscape will become much easier because whilst let me tell you, many companies still struggle with compliances and regulatory issues. It's just a tick mark thing for them. They tick mark and 80% of the time they are not really compliant, and that's a big issue. Whereas you have a great advantage of coming from behind and actually taking up. You can actually become the leaders by doing all these kind of things from your stage of the business that you are in.
So that's good insight. But at the end of the day, when we look at MSMEs, they would want it in very simple words that if they have to look at 5 important points, that they need to keep in mind to create a more future-ready business for themselves, and at the same time balance between being compliant and having a safe architecture? What would be those 5 points, Sunil?
So you need to all the time think of digital transformation. Okay. Now digital transformation has many connotations. One is business, one is related to compliances and security as well, because there also it needs a digital mindset to make it happen actually. Now, how do you do that? Now, many a times, as many SMEs think that, oh, it might cost a lot of money. I don't have the money. I have the willingness to do it, but I don't have the money. But I have a transformative mind in me and my team that we want to do something, and it starts from there. If you have that kind of a mindset, you need to then invest in good technology, you need to invest in good tools. Now, if you land up doing that, now question comes, do I have the money to invest in those good tools or innovation? There, the government is helping you. I mean, people sometimes do not know how to reach them, or are not well informed, or don't take the trouble to perhaps watch out or look out for these kind of things where they can actually get financial help and actually look at that. Banks are also doing that. The third part, where once somebody spoke about technical skill set, shortage of technical skill set in the keynote in the beginning. Now, that's a pertinent problem in many industries, not just as a SME sector only. Let me give you an example. When I started in one of my earlier companies, and this is a classic example I must give you, we wanted to do an ERP implementation in 97, 98, 99. Nobody in our industry had ever heard of an ERP. Nobody. We had no skill set, we had no knowledge, the vendor had no knowledge. What did we do? How do we hire skill set when there is none available? Even the vendors don't have. So when you don't have, you upgrade your own teams. People have to see the potential in your own teams. I think the domain knowledge is the biggest advantage that all of you have, which sometimes the vendor partners may not be able to bring onto the table. The domain expertise is something which you should take advantage of. Upgrade your teams, upskill them, and this should be a regular exercise. It's not one-time exercise that you do one project and forget about it. It should be a continuous exercise. That's the third part. The fourth part is when you think of innovation and keep on talking about innovation all the time, then you need to focus on what is my main business priority? What do I need to actually tackle? Do I need to take an approach of end-to-end everything I want to do on day one, which will never happen? Look at what is your business objective, whether within that business objective, whether you want to look at only a revenue growth for the next year, that you want to target something, or you want to look at efficiency building, or you want to look at customer experience as your big target that you have failed or you don't have enough bandwidth and you want to improve that. So let's take three examples. If you start targeting one by one, you will seriously realize that these are achievable in baby steps, and I think they don't cost much, and it can be easily done by your own teams. If you think there is a shortage of funds, there is a skill set scarcity also, you can also collaborate with people outside. You can go for skill set outside. You can look at OPEX models, for example, not necessarily a CAPEX model where you don't have to invest on day one. You can write off in terms of project, 3 years, 5 years, and so on. So you have the advantage of starting year one and paying back over 3 years to 5 years in your project cycle as a finance book rule. However, we launched one project like this, and it was costing crores in the year 2001, for example. And we thought the payback would not be as fast, but we had to write off in 5 years. The payback happened in 10 months. 10 months, you'll not believe it. And I'll tell you this reason, this example, because it's very important. We created a module which was so unique in the world, not just in India, actually in the world, which nobody else could think of in those days. And every client jumped to come to us to get service because that was so unique that we had built. We did not do the software development. We built the module through a vendor, world-class vendor. Now, why I'm giving you this example is that in adversities where you think you do not have a solution, or you think there could be a money related issue or skill set issue, everything of this played a role, great role in this, where nothing was available, yet you created something. Within 10 months, the ROI was achieved, and then you had a great, great image in public that these are innovators, these are leaders, these are strategists, these can help us in businesses. So these, I can rant out many examples.
Well, Mr. Sunil Mehta, I mean, in not so many words, you've given us a lot of information, and considering that we do have a very packed agenda as well, I would like to kind of summarize with your permission, if I can. So, for MSMEs today, there is a need for agility, digitalization, and resilience, and we need to accept the fact that past disruptions will affect our sense of or our business completely when it comes to creating a resilient business. So therefore, what is very important is we need to understand the common risks in digital expansion and not just jump on the bandwagon just because people are talking about it. We need to make sure that we create a secure by design thinking and in the early stages itself by partnering with the right business partners. We need to make sure that if we embed compliance and governance practices within our organizations, we become a lucrative prospect for companies who are scouting for partners, and that's where the strength of MSME lies. We need to ensure that the mindset should be digital first and global by design and outlook. We need to value data, IP, and branding. We need to make sure that the importance of leadership adaptability comes first, especially with MSMEs, because you lead from the front. Last but not the least is being resilient is a necessity today to make sure that you create a future enterprise, and your proactive risk management is actually your growth enabler. And in the real world examples of resilient business pivots, it's very important to understand where your business is right now and pivot wherever required. I mean, Mr. Sunil Mehta made it very easy for us to understand through the examples and his experience, and I cannot thank you enough, sir.
Just one point I want to
Yeah.
add before we go. Look at the cloud strategy all the time. It's so easy to adopt and adapt and implement pretty fast. I'm going to take 30 more seconds only. There are options, and it will make you secure and sleep well in the night. These solutions are secure, they are scalable. At the same time, it can be implemented on the fly. And these are some things which startups or MSMEs who have not done something can even think about doing it now. It is not very expensive to go for it. Please do consider such kind of advantages that you have on your platter. Learnings of every kind are available, which people didn't have in the earlier days. So I think you are on a very good advantage wicket right now, I must say, and all the very best to you guys. Look up for companies which help you out. There are many companies who do that. At the same time, one last thing, because of Operation Sindoor, I must tell you that not a buzzword, but cybersecurity has become the most important factor right now in terms of all these kind of wars happening. These are cyber wars. The government of India has also recognized cybersecurity as the fourth armed force element in their gamut of schemes. So think about it, and please be safe and be secure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sunil Mehta. It was wonderful speaking to you.